Keeping the Vibe. This is volume 4. And this evening, although we moved it to a Zoom class, it is, for now, we are going to build this community via using the Zoom meeting because it gives more people an opportunity to Zoom in and take part and be a part of this community of people who are working hard at maintaining the vibe. We are this source of energy. We are all about vibration. Everything is about vibration in this universe. And keeping the vibe is all about what we are doing in a forward motion to raise our vibe and then to maintain it as we live, work, and play on this big ball we call planet Earth. And so this evening, I wanted to touch base with you and share with you some of the things that, as we move forward and we build this community, I think it might be a great idea for us to start with a quick intro as to this thing that we call vibration and this thing that we call your energy system. We are a big ball of energy, and through that, we have the ability to either attract positive energy toward us or to attract negative energy toward us. And so, what are the things that you do? What are the things that we do in order to raise the vibration? There are many facets in our life that puts this contrast in front of us that kind of prevents us from being able to see the beauty in the world. And so I wanted you to take just a second and think about how many times in the last, say, couple of years, have you noticed something around you and all of a sudden you're like, wow, how did I never notice that before? Take a minute and think about that. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to, other than taking a few breaths, which I'm sure you can hear me doing, I'm going to pull up a couple of these videos that I've made because it kind of gives you a clue as to what. Here's a great example of negative energy floating around. Let me stop. Okay, let's start that again. We have to go to screen share, the media player, and then we'll go to the media player and plus play. Here's a great example of negative energy floating around in this or energy system. Okay, so there you have it. You could see how his thinking was working throughout that. I believe that was a minute and a half that I was videotaping. And that is the in living color that shows you your energy system flowing through you, and that we know as chakras, and the energy surrounding you that we call our human energy field, or the aura, an auric vehicle. And it's through these areas, the energy flowing through you is connected to the energy circulating through you, around you. And this energy circulating around you is a form of protection for many of the other forms of subtle energy that we can find on the spectrochrome, on the spectra, on the, oh boy, listen to me, on the electromagnetic spectrum. And it's that is, and I'm going to pull this up because I think it's a great example. Let me go ahead and screen share. Slideshow, please. And current slide. Okay, whoop. Let's go. Sorry. Hopefully I can, there we go. And this shows you the electromagnetic spectrum. This is who we are. This is where we are. We can find ourselves on this electromagnetic spectrum. And what we have focused on through most of our general science throughout elementary school and secondary schools, etc., is that we see that visible light portion. It's so important for us to make a connection to ourselves that we are can be found on this electromagnetic spectrum. And that this visible part, notice it is the color of the rainbow. And it's this rainbow that is mimicking the same energy that flows through us and that surrounds us. And we can now see that in living color, as I just demonstrated. Why is that important? Because when you are trying to raise your vibe, then you are working at those subtle energies that are flowing through you and surrounding you. And it's where you work at yourself and where you focus on yourself. And I'm going to just kind of throw in there, because it's a spontaneous thought that I think is fitting, that the number one reason that we have a hard time raising our vibration and feeling this true sense of joy and well-being is because we do not truly love ourselves enough to do so. We do not love ourselves enough to understand that we don't have control over almost all of the aspects of our life other than the ones of ourselves, of me, myself, and I, and what I control, which is only me. And it's this collaboration of many people that are circumnavigating, that are working around you, that you are exchanging energy. Everything you do is an exchange of energy of some kind. And in some very loose terms, it's Einstein's theory, right? E equals mc squared. We are exchanging energy, and when that energy exchanges, something different is happening. So when you are thinking positive, you are attracting more positive energy. When you are thinking negative, you are attracting more negative energy. Which momentum is it that you prefer? That is the key and the goal. And while we are working at understanding that beautiful basic premise that we are this ball of positive and negative energy, and that we can control that energy, then we can begin to balance the energy. And it's the balancing of our, not just our body, but our metaphysical body. What I'm speaking of now, this energy system of yours, I call it your inner self. It's about balancing the chakras and your aura field, because when those are out of balance, when they are in a disorder, when they are out of order, disordered in some way, it's important that you balance that energy. And so we balance it by going opposite, right? We know that a positive and a negative equals a neutral situation. And so we can use that premise to balance that energy in our body, in our mind, and in our spirit, but more so in our heart, mind, and soul. And it's there, heart, mind, and soul, that is the key to balancing. We all have our stories to tell. We all have our influencers, things that, for the lack of a better word, trigger us. But it's this exchange of energy that we can focus on. And the focus in the beginning is you. As I showed you with that one video, when you think positive thoughts, then you can see those clouds disappear. But when he fights it, when he's trying hard, which we're all human and we all have done, then you can see how it clears up, and then it kind of tries to come back in and then clears up again. My friends, it is that simple for you to understand your metaphysical self, balancing that energy, raising your vibe. Eating properly is raising your vibe. Acknowledging your metaphysical self is the first step, really, into even raising your vibe, period. And what will begin to happen is this beautiful domino. No, dominoes are wrong, because that means falling. This beautiful ladder, stepping stone stairs is going to go build, and you're going to start to see and feel differently. And for everything you do positive to yourself, such as, I remember learning making your bed first thing in the morning. Boy, that just sets so many things up for when you walk home in the afternoon. It's these little things that sets you up for the positive things, for the raising of the vibration, for you to see and feel and sense this beautiful world that surrounds us. We have been trained, conditioned, and formatted for us to see things in this perspective that has pushed us all in corners. And we now have these very well defined boxes and these very well defined checklists that we somehow prepave everything we do in our life. If we are going to another city, no matter whether it's, when we are going to another city for the first time, no matter the distance, we begin to think about things like, how am I going to get there? And, do I need to see if there's going to be traffic? And are there tolls there? And what time should I leave? And is there a rush hour? And so on and so on. All of these things are building this momentum of negative energy. And yes, granted, we've all gotten very good at compartmentalizing and pretending we're not stressing out. But when you are thinking about just those things, when you get in that car to head to that event or to that location, you are pre-paved with, okay, I wonder if I'm going to find traffic. The GPS is going to screw up. What time am I going to get there? And I hope there's a restroom on the way. And I hope there's a restroom every 20 miles, right? So on and so on. We don't see the beautiful scenery as we drive by, and the greenery and the beautiful trees, or the old buildings or the new buildings, even the manufacturing plants. When I was a child, I remember going through a city that fascinated me. I didn't notice the smells. I didn't notice the dirt and the grime and what it was doing to the ozone layer. I was noticing how amazing it was that these big, vast buildings with these smokestacks and buildings with lots of windows, that something was actually being made in them. I wanted to investigate it. I wanted to know, but I didn't preload. I didn't see the gross part or the grimy part. And it's that we have to begin to understand, that we can raise our vibration to see more beauty in this world than we've been trained and conditioned to do. So it's raising the vibe. Raising your vibe is the key thing here for us to understand who we are and why we are. And while we're doing that, let's go back to the screen share here and let me show you. Okay. This here, okay, this is why this is a great demonstration about the energy and how we read energy. We are energy readers. That is what we need to understand our metaphysical self. We are energy readers. And it's this graph here that shows you, the length and size, if you will, of the individual frequencies. And when we walk into a meeting room and we sense, and we're like, oh man, you can cut the tension with a knife. That is because most people, at least enough people, depending on the size, maybe let's use that, if there's a quorum, if we can have a quorum, please, for the meeting, okay, then we know that something is happening, because somebody, more than one, depending on that quorum, is vibrating at this low and slow frequency, which is the red aspect on our electromagnetic spectrum. It is very slow and it is very low. And then conversely, something that we all know is that we've heard, right, with the health world, with wellness, that color plays an important part. We don't paint our bedrooms orange and yellow because we're going to be sleeping, and they are very bright and intense, interesting colors. So we use the calm color like blue. Hospitals and other places of well-being use blue in order to calm people down. And so that, my friends, is just a real quick little basic on this electromagnetic spectrum, because we are this electromagnetic spectrum. Do you see the chakras here in this picture? This person's chakra energy system flowing through them, these power centers through their inner self, albeit they have some shadows, some negative energy floating around in their aura, in their human energy field. Their chakras are fairly well balanced. We see a little discoloration, a little muddiness in the third eye, which means that they are not using their intuitive nature, something that we all have within us. If we did not have that sixth sense is what I like to call it, that intuitive nature combined with that gut instinct, right? They're kind of one and the same. They can be defined separately, but I see them as one and the same. If we didn't have those as a human being, we would not have gotten out of the cave ages. We survived and the dinosaurs didn't. It wasn't just that opposable thumb, I don't think. So think about that for the next month while we continue on in raising our vibration. You can join me for a class if you'd like. You can see that on my Inner Self Energy Healing page. But the point is that this all goes a very long way. It is no longer rocket science. We are this big ball of energy, and we are trying to raise the vibration and then maintain it. Because the more the vibration I send out, the negative energy or the positive, I am receiving that back triple fold. In some ways, in another way, you can look at it even as how we talk about karma, right? When we put good things out in the world, then we get good karma back. So think about that, my friends. Until then,